Okay, Assalamualaikum. So let's continue. Right, the third grounds, in order to review the discretionary power of public authority is under the grounds of improper purpose, or it is also known as colorable exercise of power. So what is improper purpose? Okay, improper purpose means that it is a purpose that lies outside the scope and purpose of the statute that confers the discretionary power to the public authority. Okay, in other words, when the Parents Act impose the power to make a decision to the public authority, so they must follow the power specifically rights. Okay, and they may impose sanction. Okay, they may make decision according to the substantive law. Okay, according to the scope and power provided by the Parents Act. Okay, then it will become improper, okay, when they go beyond of the purpose laid down by the Parent Act. Okay, for example, as you may refer to the case of Pengarah Tanah dan Galian Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur against Sri Lempah Enterprise, okay, 1979. So what happened in this case? Okay, the state authority imposed a condition under section 124 subsection 5 subsection C of the National Land Code requiring the applicant, who is the landowner, to surrender the freehold title to his land to the authority and accept in return a 99-year lease as a consideration for approving his application to develop the land. So what happened in this case is that in order for a landowner to get approval by the state authority to develop his own land, he must surrender his freehold title. Okay, freehold title, so dia kena surrender, and then state authority will grant him a 99-year lease as a consideration for approving the land development. Okay, so in this case, it was decided by the court that no power given to the state authority to impose such conditions. So the condition is improper. Okay. Next, the next grounds of review is under the grounds of vague purpose. Okay, vague means that the purpose itself has no definite meaning. Okay, and the purpose of the decision made by the public authority is unclear. Okay, for example, as you may refer to the case of Yulin Finance Development Malaysia Sendirian Berhad against Director of Lands and Mines Penang. Okay, under the Land Acquisitions Act Section 3, the Parent Act in this case, the state authority may acquire any land which is needed for any public purposes or for a work which is of public utility or for the purpose of mining or for residential, agricultural, commercial or industrial purposes. Okay, so in this case, the state government of Penang issued a notification to the plaintiff under the Act, and the plaintiff challenged the notification for having a vague purpose because it stated that the land were being acquired for residential, industrial and public purposes. And the court rejected the argument, saying that it was up to the state government to decide what is or what is not a public purpose. Okay, so in this case, the plaintiff challenge. Okay, the plaintiff said that the notification made by the state government having a vague purpose because it just stated the land acquired for residential, industrial and public purposes. Okay, but this is made according to Section 3 because Section 3 stated that state authority may acquire any land which is needed for any public purposes. Okay, so the state government no need to make it specifically. Okay, so the decision made by the state authority in this case is valid and not considered as a vague. Okay, the next grounds for review of discretionary power is unreasonableness. Okay, again, previously we have discussed this ground in the subsidiary legislations, right? So unreasonableness means that the public authority had abused the power. Okay, in other words, no other reasonable authority would make the same decisions. Okay, so this is to say that the decision is so unreasonable. Okay, as you may refer to the case of Regina against Greenwich London Borough Council as parte Cedar Holdings. So it was held that a decision is unreasonable if it is the kind of decision that is so outrageous that no right-thinking person would support it. In other words, no other reasonable authority will make such decisions. Okay, so if only this authority sahaja yang buat this decision, meaning that the decision itself is unreasonable. Okay, as you may refer to the case of Sri Lanka Enterprise, and like this, still remember when the state authority converted, okay, when they approve the application to develop the land, okay, the applicant must surrender, okay, his freehold title of the land, and then they must surrender to the 99 leasehold. Okay, so this decision also can be considered as unreasonable. Okay, next, there is one test, okay, in order to determine whether the decision made by the public authority is unreasonable or not. Okay, the test is known as Wednesbury test. Okay, so in this test, court will look into 3 grounds. Sorry, yeah. Okay, first, the defendant took into account factors that ought not to have been taken into account. So what does it mean? Okay, so under the first point, the authority had considered the irrelevant matters in making decision. Okay, the second point, the defendant failed to take into account factors that ought to have been taken into account. So under the second point, the relevant authority failed to consider the decision by referring to the relevant matters. And third, the decision was so unreasonable that no reasonable authority will ever consider imposing it. So no other authority, no other public authority would make the same decision as the defendant. So if you are able to satisfy these 3 requirements, okay, under Wednesbury test, therefore the decision made by the public authority is ultra vires. Okay, unreasonable, therefore it is ultra vires and null and void. Okay, for example, another case, you may refer to the case of Backhouse against Lambeth London Borough Council. The decision of the local authority in increasing the rental from £7 a week to £18,000 per week was held to be unreasonable and not valid. So you boleh nampak, actually you boleh nampak the term of unreasonable itself. Okay, next ground is